My next guests are the names behind the largest self-storage organisation in Australasia. They now have more than 100 locations in Australia and New Zealand. And join me now in the studio. Welcome to the program, David Scanlen and Michael Tate. How are you guys?
Well, good, Peter. Thank you.
Well, where did all this come from, this storage? The better question is, how big are you? How many franchisees? How many people are involved in this whole organisation?
Look, we've got upwards of 120 Storage King franchisees operating through Australia and New Zealand at the moment. We've probably got somewhere between 25 and 30 in the pipeline over the next 12 to 18 months as well. So it's exciting times in the storage industry.
Yeah. So I guess when and how did the idea come about? Like, I know you're brilliant blokes.
Of course.
But the fact that you observed it, how long? It was a long time ago.
Well, we entered the industry in the early 90s and were called upon to run the pioneer of the self-storage industry in the early 90s. And we worked together turning around that business for 5 years and then found a niche for ourselves in 1998 and we've been doing that for 12 years.
So you worked with another organisation, obviously learnt the game, and then you came up with the idea of Storage King.
That's right.
Okay.
And we left together.
Well, we recognised it was a very fragmented marketplace.
Yep.
A lot of mum and pop operators in storage at that time in 1998.
Yes,
so
most definitely.
Having been in a larger organisation, we figured if we could group together a number of the smaller operators under the one banner, and we thought Storage King was a pretty good name.
Oh, it was a great name.
And we had the experience in running multi-site operations. We thought it'd be a good idea and they could share in the benefits of being under one banner.
Yeah. So where was the first site?
Well, we had, interestingly, when we first moved into the market with the Storage King brand, we went to a number of existing operators in the market and convinced them the benefits of joining us, de-risking their business experience.
Yeah, right.
And almost overnight, in fact in 3 months, we went from 0 to about 20 stores. That really frustrated the existing operators in the market at the time because they all used their own balance sheet to get to where they'd gotten.
Yeah.
And the frustrating thing in the capital markets with self-storage is it consumes a lot of capital. So it's very frustrating for a balance sheet. And that still remains today the key barrier to entry in coming into self-storage and doing lots and lots of sites. It just requires so much capital.
And you used franchising, and in the 90s, that's when franchising was really taking off. But then again, the beauty of franchising is you create a system and you get people who follow it.
That's it.
You took people on who were already running their own show. Was that difficult to get them to play ball exactly the same way?
That's an excellent point, Peter, because that was one of the most difficult things in the first 6 months. That trust factor and to trust two younger guys, because we were young at that time, to get together, to get together and lead a brand not only in its marketing but in training their staff and assisting in the systems of the day-to-day operations when they have got experience in running them themselves. That was difficult in convincing some of those early operators. But as time wore on in the first sort of 12 months, they realised just by the sheer pooling of marketing funds, for instance, there was great benefits and savings on certain suppliers and insurances and various other costs that storage facilities have to encounter. There was immediate benefits to their cash flow. So they were incentivised really to come on board because there was a pretty quick payback for them.
Yeah, but I guess from your point of view, you also would have been learning the game, but even though you worked somewhere else, there was still a lot to learn in running franchisees, wasn't it?
Well, Michael and I both come from retail backgrounds. We're both bean counters by trade. I'd come from...
By bean counters you mean accountants?
That's the one.
And creative ones, maybe.
Very creative. I'd come from PepsiCo, which is a very successful franchise operator at the time of Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, KFC. And it's from that, complemented by the skills that we had in the self-storage market, we looked at the highly fragmented nature of the market and so there's an opportunity to offer a de-risk circumstance to existing operators. Come in, pool your marketing, de-risk the overall experience, get access to cheaper capital, more affordable insurance, those sorts of things.
Yeah. So, but also now you've you use the franchising model to which means you have to go to a bank and borrow money because someone else is going to do it.
That's right.
To play ball, and that's the great appeal of franchising.
That's it.
But I've also noticed that a big supporter of you is a publicly listed company in the Abacus Property Group. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's right.
So, why do they get on board? Why do they? Did they realise you guys are on a winner and they want to get a slice of the action?
Well, we recognised about 5 years ago, given the enormity of storage kings that are out there, many at some point in time, for lifestyle reasons or otherwise, might want to sell.
Yeah, a succession.
Exactly right. And often business people will go to their accountant and say, I've got a great idea, I want to get into it, and the accountant wants to know how you're going to get out of it, and really if they thought about that. So we wanted to attach an opportunity for our licensees, the opportunity to get out. We wanted to structure an exit mechanism so that if they did at any point in time want to get out, we could accommodate them.
Because there's some pretty good real estate with these storage kings, aren't there?
Prime,
Yeah, expensive
prime
real estate too.
Yeah, yeah. And so Abacus, in a sense, is happy to go in and provide the funds to take them because they want to hold property. That's the name of their game.
Yeah, and they're largely made up. It's an unlisted fund, largely made up of retail investors. So they're after immediate cash flow return, and they're in the business of acquiring existing self-storage operations, and we brand them and manage them for them. So it's a win-win for both of us.
Yeah.
And it's been very successful over the last 5 years.
When you started in the 90s, did you think you were seeing a trend that was just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger? And tell us what that trend is. Because a lot of people know you're everywhere, but haven't really linked it to some of the things I presume you were seeing then.
Well, I think the evidence is that the product of self-storage is more known than it ever was, but it's still not well enough known to be on the tip of everyone's lips.
Yeah.
And so that's the challenge that we have as the dominant operator in the market. It's our role to educate as many people as we can that we have the product that you can access.
Yeah.
We take the lead from the American experience, where there's actually 4 times as much self-storage area per capita in the American market as there is today in Australia. So we look at that as a barometer to determine how much more self-storage can we put into the Australian market.
Okay. But I figured, and you could say you're wrong, but I don't think I am, is that everyone's moving more and more into apartments. And so you no longer have the garage which you stash up with so much stuff you can't get your car in. People living in apartments really do need storage. Especially
more recently developed apartments. They're notoriously small for living space, and you don't want to be using expensive floor rental for storage of items. You want to use it for bedrooms and living space. So, and that has really helped us in our business. There's no doubt that a lot of those developments, if you're lucky in one way to get a car spot downstairs in the basement of those places. And so that's led, obviously, to good demand over recent years. And we don't think that that's finished, especially in the major metropolitan areas and especially in areas around the business, the CBD and even the districts of Parramatta and North Sydney. Yeah,
and also small businesses, I guess, are using you guys more and more as a place to store. I know we store our magazines. And once upon a time we wouldn't have needed that sort of things. I would have had a garage and that sort of stuff, but no. Okay. Also, plans to go to the UK, I've read about. Is this right?
Well, we've been in the UK for some time, actually. We've been there 3-4 years. Right. And it's a difficult market there at the moment. Definitely. The issue in the UK is, funnily enough, they got onto the storage concept well after the Australians, to be honest. So it's only a relatively young industry there, and it's developing as time goes on, but at the moment it's in a bit of a state of flux due to the GFC and all the concerns over there. But growth in that market will resume along similar lines, we think, to the Australian market.
There's also been enormous consolidation in the market. People out there are putting them all together. Is this continuing now, or is the market pretty settled?
Absolutely. I think if we were to crystal ball this industry, we believe over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, storage operators in brand will reduce in, say, 8 major brands down to 2 or 3. We just hope to be ahead of the game and are planning for that fact. So We see that continuing, that consolidation, because the management systems are becoming more sophisticated, the recruitment, and even just in terms of staff succession planning, they want to see a path. Anyone who joins the company wants to see a path rather than just being a storage facility manager of one operator. They want to be able to move into bigger roles like area management and operations management and state manager. So it really makes sense to consolidate.
Well, this thought must have passed your mind at one stage or another. Is Storage King going to be a listed company one day?
It may well be, or...
It doesn't have to be, but
no,
surely people must have knocked on your door and asked that question.
Always.
Yeah.
And being private, and Michael and I are the founders and co-owners, this decision lies with us, and if it's right for the brand at the time, then it may not be an IPO, it might be a trade sale.
Yeah.
But we continue to enjoy very solid growth because one of the key aspects we refer to is risk management, and new operators into the market are finding it almost impossible to access capital because they don't have a track record or are not credentialed operator. So banks are guiding them to us and saying, if you want to get into storage, you need to do it with Storage King. So the frustration that is evident in the capital markets for other organisations has actually turned to our favour.
Okay, you guys must wake up sometimes and pinch yourself and say, is this really true? Like, I know you always rate yourself very highly, but this is a great achievement. And when you reflect back on it, what were the critical decisions that you think you've made that explains how you've gone from a pretty small, obviously a nothing organisation to where you are today? Because a lot of people watch this program would be interested. What are the big lessons you've learned along the way?
Gee, that's a tough question, but
I'm going to have to flick that to you.
Okay.
I guess if your wives were here, they probably would tell you, because you guys wouldn't even think about what you do.
In the early days of 1998, and in attempting to get this business off the ground, we knew it was a good name, we knew it was a fragmented market. But we made a promise to ourselves with the $40,000 cash we had in our bank accounts at the time that we would have a red-hot go at it and see if we could make it work over a period of between 6 and 12 months, whatever you could survive. And David went along to Franchising Expo at that particular time. We weren't necessarily thinking in terms of franchise, but rather sort of managing businesses, storage businesses for people. So so we thought 6 to 12 months, let's give it a go and see if we can get some interest. And it was really just pulling together of those independent operators that got them excited, and they could see immediate benefits that made us realise, well, this is going to happen more quickly possibly than we even thought. So there's certainly an element of luck involved at the front end, but then we saw an opportunity just to really lift the enthusiasm levels and take that same process to Melbourne and to Brisbane and to Auckland and to other major centres around Australia and New Zealand that all require storage. It
does seem to me, unlike a lot of small businesses, you did go in with a pretty substantial plan. And along the way, you've been very professional and the results have been terrific. Well done, guys.
Thank you, Peter.
All Australians are proud of results and stories like that. They're terrific.
Thank you.